In a bid to appeal to a broader voting base, Republicans have apparently made peace with gay marriages.
Well, that's funny because there is actually a secret reason why they're doing that. It's not just for the voters, it's for something else as well. We have facts and receipts on that, but more from the heart of the story from Anna.
All right, so this is a fascinating story, mostly because it puts the Republican Party at odds with their evangelical base, but they realized, well, where's the evangelical base gonna go? Are they gonna go to the Democrats? Probably not. So why don't we also pander to the LGBT community? Obviously not T, the transgender community, which we'll get to in just a minute. Now, in interviews with Republican operatives, there is a widespread acceptance that debate over marriage equality is settled. There is no serious discussion about trying to overturn Obergefell versus Hodges. There were also openly gay officials working at the highest levels of the Trump administration. Now, if you look at Congress, the gay rights movement has found allies in up and coming Republican stars like Representative Dan Crenshaw, Representative Elise Stefanik, and Representative Young Kim. And apparently Trump was the one who kind of gave them the green light to pander to the gay community, rhetorically, of course. The real breakthrough, gay Republican operatives say, came with the nomination of Donald Trump. Though evangelicals flocked to his candidacy, conservative gay rights activists also saw an opportunity. At the GOP convention in 2016, Trump became the first Republican to mention protecting the rights of the LGBTQ citizens, but as we all know, talk is cheap, and his actions certainly did not align with his own statements during the convention. Trump opposed the Equality Act, as we all know, which would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to prohibit anti-LGBTQ and sex discrimination in public accommodations and federal programs, appointed judges deemed hostile to the LGBTQ issues, and also rolled back protections in the workplace for non-binary workers and pushed for the removal of protections for the LGBTQ people in healthcare programs. So again, his rhetoric was one thing, his actions certainly conflicted with the rhetoric. But at the end of the day, politically speaking, Republicans are like, oh yeah, I mean, we want to broaden our base. Let's definitely say that we support gay marriage, even though they had for a very long time fought against that form of equality.
Okay, we're gonna get to the secret reason in a second, but first let me go off on Republicans. Please spare me your nonsense about, oh no, we don't hate gay people as much as we used to. No cookies for you.
No cookies for you.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, you just read that, Anna just read that laundry list of anti-gay actions that Trump took. And their counter to that was, well, on the other hand, he hired a bunch of corrupt gay people. That's not really an on the other hand. So, okay, they chose to sell out people themselves, people they care about, their entire community for a little extra power, wealth, fame, etc. I don't find that to be endearing. So speaking of no cookies for you, Ken Mehlman helped run George Bush's campaign and then led the RNC. And came out and apologized for the way that they ran the 2004 presidential campaign, because what they did was they put anti-gay marriage measures all across the country in swing states because they knew how much their party was based on hate, and they wanted to direct that hate towards gay Americans so that they would show up to get motivated to show up to vote for Bush. By the way, that strategy worked. And then Mehlman then came out and apologized later for it when he was announcing that he too was gay. No cookies for you at all, Ken. You're a monster. You ran that campaign against your own community, later saying, oh, well, I got rich and famous off of it. So, hey, good luck to the rest of you. Sorry, not interested, not at all interested. You're still scum. I don't accept your apology, and I don't care what, nonsense marketing you guys are doing now. By the way, in the Republican Party platform, as we stand today, it not only is against same-sex marriage after all these years, but it also talks positively about gay conversion therapy. That's basically where they psychologically and sometimes physically abuse people to try to get them to do something outside their nature. So no, the Republicans are still monsters, let alone the transgender community. This is not a conversation. And Politico, by the way, look, I get it. It's an interesting story. I'm glad you covered it. But as usual, your coverage was embarrassing. It's not 50-50 at all. The actual facts of the story are Republicans hate gay people. They hate them a tiny bit less these days because they're all making money together, which is gonna get to the real reason in a second, right? But they're generally speaking monsters. And you gave the examples, but your headline and your overall coverage is, aren't Republicans so much better to gay people now? And the answer is no.
Right.
No, they're not.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And remember, there's no guiding principle here. It's not as if the Republican Party is suddenly empathetic and loving toward the gay community. They just see this as a good political opportunity to broaden their base. And they realized, well, look, I mean, we used gay marriage as the culture war issue, right? To deflect from everything else that we should have been focusing on, to avoid discussing how we're economically destroying people in this country. And so we can find another culture war issue to latch onto. And to be sure, they have. I mean, right now, all they talk about is critical race theory, something that's taught at a graduate level and certainly doesn't impact grade schools across the country. And they also love to hate on the transgender community, and they made transgender bathrooms a huge culture war issue that they campaigned on. But when you look at gay marriage, there has been an increase in support of gay marriage among the Republican electorate. And again, that is what these Republican politicians are focusing on. Where can we go to appeal to a broader base of people? A Gallup poll from 2014, for instance, showed that only 30% of Republican voters Republican voters were in support of same-sex marriages. A Gallup poll released earlier this year, though, showed that by June of 2021, 55% of Republicans supported same-sex marriage. So there is an uptick in favor of same-sex marriage, which is a good thing among the electorate. My guess is more people have felt comfortable coming out as gay, and more Republican voters realize that they have gay family members, and they're like, oh, I guess gay marriage ain't that bad. I want my family members to have equality. But when it comes to the transgender community, as we know, they're incredibly hateful, continue to be incredibly hateful, and we need to rely on progressives to take the lead on pushing for equality until Republican politicians bend to our will. Cenk.
Yeah, well, they just shift the target of their hate, but overall, they are the party of hate. And just disputing that is preposterous on factual grounds. And look, we're fair. So you see the Republican voters, even they change over time for the reasons that Anna stated, that's right. And so in this case, I'm talking about the Republican politicians. Because at this point, 55% of Republican voters even say, look, I don't even hate gay people. Wow, and that is real progress because the party is built on that. It doesn't mean that they're good people. They just switch their hatred to transgender people now. Oh, you shouldn't let them compete in high school sports. What bathroom are they going to? I hate. Who do I hate next, right? That's the party, get real. The Republicans became the party of hate because of the Southern strategy. They said, oh, the Democrats did the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. That leaves a racist vote to us. Let's go grab the Southern racist vote to turn this into a racist party and a party filled with fear and hatred. And they did that. That's a fact. That's a fact. I don't care how much the mainstream media tells you, oh, I can't tell anything. I'm not a reporter. I call everything 50-50, which brings me back to Politico. In the middle of the article, I already knew why the Republicans were actually doing this. But Politico just mentioned his name and gave no context. They said, oh, Republican supporters like Paul Singer are also in favor of this move. Now, do you know who Paul Singer is? He's a giant Wall Street banker. Okay, I'm gonna read you a hilarious headline from CNN and a totally unrelated story that relates back to Singer. Headline from CNN Money: Wall Street CEOs open up about their gay sons. There we go. Now, Paul Singer explained recently, oh, it turns out my son is gay, I didn't know. He said, when I first found out, I did not react well. And he said, out of a scale of 10 on accepting of gay people, I was at a 2.1. Well, that was nice and honest of him, right? So he hated gay people until it turned out it was one of his family members. Oops. And as with all conservatives, I don't care about you or your family or other human beings at all. But my family, I care deeply about them. oh, did you guys know that it's unfair to do this to gay people? Yes, Paul, we always knew. And by the way, no cookies for you. I don't give a goddamn that you just found out that being a decent human being makes sense if it applies to your son, right? So that's not interesting. But what is interesting is that Paul Singer, in 2020 alone, and just the money we can see, let alone the dark money, gave $4.25 million to Republicans. So there you have it. That's a list. Elliott Management is his group because his name is Paul Elliott Singer. Those are some of the contributions he gave. Again, that does not include the dark money. So that's over $4 million. And that's just in one election cycle.
It's crazy.
Okay, he's given tens of millions of dollars into politics, mainly to Republicans. Why? He wants tax cuts, he wants deregulation, he wants them to kiss banker ass, and the Republicans are super happy to oblige. Ronna McDaniel putting out that statement and telling the evangelical community to basically, I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Kick rocks?
Kick rocks, let's put it that way, pound sand, right? They're not gonna tell the Family Research Council and their main evangelical base to pound sand unless there's tons of money on the other side. That's the only thing that the Republican Party is actually built for. The racism was a trick to get enough voters to win, but the mission is corruption. So that's why they're like, Paul Singer wants us to do it, and he's giving us $4 million per election cycle. Of course, Paul, oh my God, we're heartbroken over your gay son. You don't have any transgender kids, right? Oh, we hate transgender people. Evangelicals, come vote for us. They're gonna vote for us anyway. What are they gonna do, vote for Democrats?
Right, exactly.
Meanwhile, Paul, give us the money, right? And by the way, Paul Singer's not the only one. Are you crazy? There's tons of gay Republicans. I'm sorry, he's a classical liberal. Anyway, but he's not at all relevant. He's just a puppet. He's just a sad little boy. The relevant ones are people like Peter Thiel, who's another guy who supported Donald Trump and was at the convention in 2016 and was like, oh my God, Donald Trump is great, wonderful, take away gay rights, just give me tax cuts, right? Because Peter Thiel's a monster. And so these monsters, when they look for a party who will do their bidding and be their bitches, know that the Republicans are perfect. They'll do anything for money. So they make them dance. And so if you're a right winger who cares about conservative issues, I don't like you anyway. Your conservative issues are, oh, I hate gay people, I hate transgender people, I hate Latinos, I hate Muslims, I hate blacks. I'm not interested in you, but I am interested in the truth and understand that they're lying to you and selling you out to the bankers. That's just the reality. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.